So, the big question is this: how can health conscious people, especially women entrepreneurs and business owners, how can they live a less toxic life without feeling overwhelmed? And how can they make simple, affordable changes that improve their health, boost their energy, and keep them away from pharmaceuticals without breaking the bank? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Amy Todisco, and this is the Green Living Now podcast. Today, we are diving into a truly heartwarming topic that will resonate with any pet lover. We're exploring the world of natural pet care, and we have a special guest who has turned her deep connection to animals into a life changing career. Whether you're a proud pet parent or simply an animal enthusiast, this episode will open your eyes to the profound impact of holistic health choices on our furry friends' lives, and also help you understand how to deeply connect with your animal. So get cozy with your four-legged companion, and let's start our journey into a healthier, happier world for our pets. Michelle, welcome to the Green Living Now podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Me too, because I am such a passionate person about a lot of things, but animals is one of them. I know you're an animal communicator, animal intuitive. Can you tell us a little bit of how you got into this work?
I can. Thank you. It's a very interesting and weavy story. I've always been connected to animals. I've always been one of those people that sat around animals and was much happier than sitting around people. And I think it was more just I'm very energy sensitive. I didn't
Mm,
understand it back then. I was just more comfortable in the energy of animals than I was with people were too overwhelming for me.
yep, I
And
totally get that.
actually, as a child and a teenager, if I was ever in a crowded space, whether it was a train or a room or anything, I would pass out. My body would just
Oh
completely
my
shut down
gosh.
and I would pass out. And, medically, nobody could find what was going on. Over time, as I got into this work and I got to really understand energy, I realized that it was the energy of the people. And because I'm so sensitive, my body just said, we're out.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. So, I've been in that space for a really long time. I think when I moved over to the US in 1995 with my ex-husband, my whole life changed. I came from a corporate world.
Oh,
So from the age of
wow.
19 to 31, I was in corporate. Hated it, but I was good at my job and it made money.
Yeah,
That's the bubble we all grow up in.
sure.
But I've always been a bit of a rebel. And when we moved over here, I actually wasn't allowed to work for the first 2 years because I had no visa. I was
Oh,
just, I was here as his fiance. So I could be here legally, but I wasn't allowed to work. So
huh.
I ended up, after watching way too many soap operas and chat shows and eating way too many potato chips, I realized that life had to be better than this. So I started going to the local shelter. This is Maui.
How cute.
I ended up going to the local shelter and starting to walk all the dogs. And of course, I had to walk all of them and started to open me up into the animal world of living in the animal world. And then I got this amazing opportunity to work for free, to volunteer my time at a horse barn,
Oh, wow.
where I took care of the horses, which I've done since I was 9. So I started to get really immersed in the energy of animals again, where there weren't many people around. And I think
Right.
it started to open the doors. In 1999, I decided my marriage was kind of done. So I decided to make a big leap of trust and leave. So I found myself an amazing apartment on a horse barn. And I moved my horse there. And I had 2 Rhodesian Ridgebacks at the time. And we all just started to begin this brand new life. And then you have that 6 month period where life goes, we're going to throw you every horrible thing we could possibly think of
Oh,
and see
no.
what you do with it. It's like that awakening, the initiation into something different, right?
Okay.
So my dog Kobo suddenly got very, very sick and ended up after a major battle. He died quite horrifically. He was my first dog. I adored
Oh,
him.
oh
And
dear.
so I went through the medical world of how they dealt with all of that. They didn't help him. What I
Oh,
found out later was they actually made it worse.
oh,
And he died really tragically, and he was only 7.
oh gosh.
So then Kobo passed away. his son, who I had 2
Oh,
weeks later, got very, very sick. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my second.
oh no.
I didn't. And I think he was just younger and a little healthier.
Okay.
But I got launched. I know that Kobo launched me. The message he gave me was, you need to learn and show people how to do this differently.
So, had you been able to communicate with animals before this point, or was this kind of the opening where the communication became
Oh boy.
easier for you to access? Oh, how cute.
I believe I was not aware of it because I think when you just live in the moment of your gifts,
Yeah.
it's not a label, it's not a qualification, it just is. And you
So
just
you were
do it.
having these conversations with animals, you just didn't really pay attention to the fact that that was unique,
Yeah,
maybe?
and almost we can all do it. And I've always said we all have the ability to
Right.
communicate. I feel that a lot of what I did was very sensory based rather than speak based.
Oh, I see.
So it
Okay.
was feeling. My initial introduction into consciously being aware of communication was all through feel and sense and knowing.
So, given that this is a lot around green living and non-toxic living, I would love for you to share some of the things that you've learned yourself, but also from the animals around how toxins impact them and, food choices and all of that, if you would get
Yeah,
into that
yes,
topic a little.
absolutely, because it's so important. It's the same level of importance as you're doing for people. The
Yeah,
animals
for
also
sure.
leave a footprint. So here's what I've learned. In the very beginning, I started looking at dog food
Yeah.
because I didn't know how my dog had died in the very beginning, and I
Oh,
started on this rampage of
yep.
wanting to know information. So I started to explore the labels on dog food. I
Mm,
started to explore what was in the dog food and where it had
terrifying.
come from. Yes, it is absolutely terrifying.
Yep.
And I started to find out the preservatives like BHA and BHT that were in there
Mhm.
that are tire preservatives. They're used in the tire industry.
Oh my God.
I started
I
to
didn't even know
learn,
that.
yes, I started to learn about propylene glycol and I started
Hmm.
to learn about corn syrup and wheat middlings in horse
Ugh.
feed is literally, I was taught wheat middlings are the sweepings off the floor. Like,
Yeah,
we've got to get rid of it. Let's put it in food, right?
right, exactly.
And I
For
learned about,
animals.
yes, then I learned about rendered animals and where they end up.
Right, and all those meat meals, like
Yes,
all the ground, bones and ears and tails and all that nasty stuff that
yes. So you're putting sick animal parts into a dog food because they don't know where else to put it.
exactly.
And hey, it looks like kibble. Who knows?
Right, and kibble is just by its very nature of how it's created, even with better ingredients, because that was one of my challenges. I found all these like high-end, really natural dog foods, but they were still kibble. And I finally got to a point where I was like, this stuff is not good, even though the ingredients are better. This is not what, is going to be giving my dogs the kind of vitality and nutrition that they need.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I started on that path and actually I found that my second Ridgeback that was still alive at that time had really bad fear aggression issues.
Oh,
And I was embarking on this whole new journey and I went, I want to figure out how to fix this naturally.
interesting. Okay.
So the first thing I did was I took him off the food that he was on, that I believe is still out there, and I switched him over to real food that had been dehydrated.
Okay.
And you could add your own real ingredients to it.
Oh,
You
nice.
added water to it and you created a meal that was
Right.
real.
Yep.
Within a very short time of going on that, his behavior started to change. His coat changed, his gums
Oh,
improved.
wow.
Everything about him became more vibrant. That I wrote an article for the company and I said, I just want you to know how amazing your food is.
Oh, wow. Oh,
That got published. So that was good.
yeah.
And so then I really looked at what fear aggression was, right? And for me, fear aggression was acting before thinking. And
Wow.
I said, I
And
want
they
you,
call it, it's like going right-brained, correct?
yes, yes. So they go into, and it's fear based. So they're wanting to protect themselves
Yes.
from the unknown that may or may not happen.
Yep.
But it's a reaction, right? And it's
Yes.
a learned reaction, but it's also a reaction that comes from chemicals, toxins, and preservatives.
Oh, that's so interesting. So it's very much like what happens to children
Yes,
that are on all the artificial dyes and flavors and everything like that that become hyper, right? And
yes,
then they get diagnosed with ADHD and put on some kind of medication, but it's actually what they're eating
yes.
many times that causes this kind of behavior. Sounds very similar.
Yes, it's an absolute parallel.
Yes.
So I started to really start looking at that. And then how do I take all these chemicals and toxins out of my dog?
Yeah.
I stopped using topical flea and tick treatments
Yep.
because once I realized what it did, right?
Yeah.
So it paralyzes the fleas and the ticks, but it's on your dog or your cat,
24/7.
and you apply it at the brainstem.
Ugh. And it has neurological impacts, correct?
Yes, because
Yes.
it paralyzes the flea or the tick. So
Ugh.
it's not going to go, well, I won't paralyze the dog or create any problems with the dog because I'm only targeting the fleas and the ticks. I
Right.
mean,
It's
just
impacting. Yeah.
logically, right? It doesn't
Yes.
compute.
Right.
So, so I started to look at that and I started to remove things from him.
Yeah.
Then I started looking at vaccines because 2 years after Kobo died, I had gone to see a holistic veterinarian and
Yeah.
explained that history. And she told me it was from a vaccine. It
Yeah.
was a brand new vaccine at the time, probably not well tested. These were
Yeah.
known side effects: lupus, kidney failure, and death.
Oh
Known
dear.
side effects to this vaccine.
And is that what Kobo died
Yes,
from? Ah.
he got lupus and kidney failure
Oh
and
my
was dead
gosh.
within 6 weeks of the vaccine.
Ugh.
Horrifically, I
Just
would say.
awful.
And
Yeah.
this dog did not, he was fabulous. So that's how I got launched
Yes.
into the nutritional, not the communication stuff, the
Right.
nutritional stuff, the toxins, the chemicals, the
Yes.
preservatives, what we're putting in and on our animals that are having effects on disease, on
Right.
behavior, on the cancers, all of that. And I
Right.
started to really, really look into the research behind the vaccines. We
Right.
went to a fantastic talk by a veterinarian who had started traditional and gone holistic. And she taught me even more about the vaccine protocol. She's done a ton of research into it.
Yep.
And what she taught me was like this pie chart. So when you vaccinate your animal, there's pieces to that. Are they stressed when they get
Mm.
vaccinated? Which likely if they're in the
How
vet,
could they not?
yeah,
Because most of them get stressed just going to the vet, right?
right? I find the good ones, but
Yep.
where they are in their health, where they are in their immune
Mm.
system,
Right.
what's going on in their environment. And if
Mm.
all of those things are already fired off and you put a vaccine into that body, you're
Oof.
adding a stress response,
Yes.
right? And that's where the side effects come from.
Right.
So I started to put this bigger and bigger picture together. And I started cleaning up Naira's diet. I stopped all topical treatment.
Yep.
And then my next lesson was he ended up having a multiple vaccine. I was
Ooh.
still in my early stages of learning
Yep. Yep.
and not trusting myself.
Yeah. Well, especially because we're told by the experts that this is what we're supposed to do. And I don't know if this is the case for every state, but in Vermont, we're required to do the 3-year rabies. Some people do it every year in order to get our dogs licensed.
Right, right. And yes, that I think that's pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I was
Um,
thinking.
but there are protocols you can do before and after the vaccine to help the body not hold on to whatever toxins are
Mm.
in the vaccine.
Yep.
So Naira had a horrible reaction to the vaccines.
Yeah.
I went to the food company and I said, "What do I do?" And the
Yeah.
first thing he said to me is, "What is wrong with you? Why did you multiple vaccinate your dog who's already at an age
Oh.
where they don't need any more vaccines?"
Oh no.
So this was like
Must have made you
really
feel
good.
guilty.
It kind of and kind of not. It was the
Oh.
kick that I needed to go,
Oh, okay.
you're learning all this stuff. Like
So
apply
trust
it.
yourself was the message as opposed to you
My
idiot.
my growth, right?
Yeah.
My growth into this is known information,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
it was great. He helped me to detox my dog, never vaccinated again other than rabies because, I moved
So
around a
smart.
lot, so I could tend to like get away with it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
as best I could, and then I learned how to monitor all of that. And then I put him on some supplements to heal
Ah,
the neurological stuff.
okay.
I put him on some supplements that would help him to calm down his reactivity
Mm.
into think first.
Mm-hmm.
If we're in danger, that's your job.
Yes.
If we're in danger and you feel you need to be aggressive and growl
Right.
at somebody or
Right.
show enough aggression that someone will back off,
Yep.
that's why I have a 120-pound dog. But think first
Yes. Yes.
and
Don't just go there first without the need.
don't ask for forgiveness. So he used to nip at people, Naira, and then once he
Oh.
realized they were okay, he'd be like, "Oh, hi," and I,
Oh,
dude,
interesting.
it's too late. You
Yeah.
lost
Yeah.
the
Yep.
connection.
Right.
Or he would only bark at people that had no dog with them.
Oh,
And only when
wow.
he was off leash. So I track everything. I want to know the details so I can fix it.
That's fascinating.
It took me a number of years to really get him healed because I was on this natural journey. But by the end of it, I had a dog that could walk off leash in the dark around anybody and everybody and not 1 ounce of aggression.
What a transformation.
Huge
Wow.
for both of us.
That's incredible.
So it started to
Mm.
fuel me into learning more, doing more. I got into Reiki and I got into acupressure and I got into essential oils and
Yeah.
homeopathy and all those other modalities. I ended up living on a farm where I mentored with the woman that was owned the farm
Oh, cool.
to learn and grow and expand and take in all of this information for my own animals. I had never any intention of starting a business. I just wanted to be able to heal my own animals myself
Yeah.
and have enough information that I could do that.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was in 2001.
Wow.
And then after 2001, my little entrepreneurial brain went, I wonder if I can help other people with what I've
Ah,
learned.
of course.
And so my business started to get birthed. I started to expand. People came out of nowhere asking me to help them fix their
So
animals.
not even knowing necessarily that you did this type of work, they would just engage in conversation and then,
Yeah, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And I had the first book I ever bought was Dr. Pitcairn's book on
oh,
cats and
yes, I
dogs.
have that one.
That was my reference. Every time someone said, "What do I do?" I'd go to the book.
Ah,
I
that's
didn't know,
cool. Yeah, yeah.
right? So a lot of this is also ego, getting out of your own way.
Sure.
I don't know. Every animal is different.
Yes.
Every decision is different. Every
Yep.
protocol is different. Every person and their relationship with that animal is different. So I only ever come in going, why am I here?
Ah,
So it allows me to be neutral and it allows me to receive. I don't want to know
that's amazing.
why.
So, okay, so I have a question for you.
Yeah,
So I have this little dog whose name is Layla. She's a rescue that my daughter actually adopted at 6 months of age. And I have struggled so much trying to figure out what kind of food. I make homemade food at this point. And I thought that, grass-fed, grass-finished beef with maybe some organic peas and carrots works best, but I feel like there's something that's still off with her digestion,
yeah.
and I would love your help to figure out what I should be doing for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I feed raw. I fed raw for years.
I
Now,
tried, but it didn't seem to work with her.
you have to support the digestive system because
Oh,
when they shift food types, they
okay.
also have to shift the enzymes that break down
That
that
makes
food.
sense. Okay.
So if they're on kibble and they're shifting to raw, you have to set the body up so that it can digest the raw, and you just
Right.
start really slowly and you mix it in really slowly.
Yeah.
And some people don't want to do raw, and I get that. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of cooked recipes out there.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing is cooked because I did try raw, or sometimes I try to do it like half cooked, half raw, just because I feel like she would turn her nose up at the raw,
Yeah.
but she would eat it if it had some cooked parts.
So I'm also now tapping into her and asking her what she wants.
Yes.
So for her, digestion is easier when it's not raw, when it's just cooked enough that it's easier for her to break it down.
Yes.
For
That
her,
makes
that works better, but
okay.
she's missing a lot of the bodily support. So
Okay.
so I don't go generic. I just want to say that to
Yes.
everybody. There are lots of great ways to go generic, but I don't. I want to know
Okay.
what the animal itself is going to thrive on rather
Perfect.
than here's a recipe for you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I have those if people want it.
Yes.
So I'm checking in with her. So I would say for her, adding in a digestive enzyme.
Yep. I was thinking
Um,
that one. Do you have a recommendation for a good one?
I do. There's a herbalist in Nottingham, New Hampshire. They do ship, and they
Okay.
have a product called Nutra Blend.
Okay.
NUTRA blend that the lady makes herself. She's like
Oh, nice.
age-old herbalist.
Okay.
And I actually just recently put my dog on it. But it's amazing. It has all the herbs in it, and she
Yes.
sources really well that help break down the food. So it makes
Awesome.
digestion easier,
Yep.
which also helps the immune system, which sits in the digestive system.
Yes.
So when the digestion system is working well, so the immune system works well.
Right.
Um, the other thing that I do with vegetables is I take an array of vegetables. I go by color. You know how they say eat by color?
Yes. Eat the rainbow.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I do that. So I don't cook for my dog. Some people like to
Okay.
cook. I don't cook for myself. I'm not cooking for my dog.
Oh, okay.
So, well, I do, but not
Because I
for.
make food from scratch every day for us, so it's
Oh, there we
easy to
go. So
just,
it's easy.
yeah.
So I take vegetables, and with vegetables, especially leafy greens, dogs cannot break down the cellulose on the outside of any leaves.
Okay.
So vegetables have to be broken up. In the wild, dogs would eat the kill, but they would eat the stomach of the kill.
Right. So it's already been digested by that animal.
Exactly.
So something pre-digested. So does cooking the vegetable
You
make
can
the
cook
difference?
them. I would lightly cook them.
Lightly cook. Okay.
What I do is I take a bunch of different vegetables. I put them through the food processor so they're all
Ah,
broken down. I put them in a container in the fridge, and then
yep.
I just feed. I'm also a lazy, I want it easy. So
Sure.
that way I've got a week's full of vegetables, and I just
Yep.
feed, for him a tablespoon in each meal.
Yep.
And then that's giving them all the extra nutrients without, I always feel when you cook something too much, you lose the
Yeah,
nutrients too.
you do.
And that's why I like to do the vegetables in that way. So they're broken
Okay.
down, they're easy to
That's
digest.
that's what my other holistic veterinarian friend, Dr. Christina Chambreau, says is that vegetables need to be pureed.
Yes.
So that's interesting that you have the same belief. That's awesome.
Yes. They need
Okay,
to
so
be broken down.
digestive enzymes, vegetables pureed, anything else that she needs that she's
Organ meat is fabulous
organ.
for dogs.
Okay. Because I thought I
Obviously,
tried liver and she wasn't really into it, but maybe I just didn't give it a much of a chance.
well, one, there's that. They have to get the taste in
Yes.
for, it's like going from fast food to a healthy diet, and it can
Right,
be quite
right.
bland, right? So
Yes.
the animals are used to having these tastes from the food.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they eat what they eat,
Yeah.
even if it's not good for them, because there's a
Right.
taste in there that they go for.
Right.
And when you go into a more natural diet, there's no taste.
Yes.
So if they're used to something different, it's hard to switch them over.
Okay.
But it does take a little bit of time.
Okay.
With the organ meat, obviously, you want to resource it from holistic and from naturally raised animals without
Right. Not the
chemicals and stuff
typical
in them,
factory farm.
because
Yeah.
you're feeding, organs that eliminate toxins.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that the organs come from a good resource. But
Right.
heart, liver, kidney are really good.
Okay.
And it's an additive, it's not the meal.
Right.
So you're adding a little bit of that.
Yep.
I generally will chop them up, and then it's just an addition to the food.
Yep.
So organ meat's really, really good for them.
Okay.
Um, Bones are good. There are some raw diets out there that you can buy. They're horribly expensive, but
Yes.
they include organs and the bones. Bones are really important too because they have a bunch of nutrients in them.
Right. And what about the marrow inside the bone? Because I've given them raw bones before, and I feel like if they eat too much of the marrow, it kind of makes their stomach off.
So that would go back. It can. Um, it's again how everything's getting digested.
Right.
So it's
If
just
she doesn't have
being
the
aware.
support of those enzymes.
Yeah, and being aware of
And
what you
is
feed.
beef or chicken, is there one or the other that's better for her?
Not chicken.
Not chicken. That's what I thought. So beef and venison is what I've focused on.
Yeah, beef and venison will work. Duck. She's kind of going for the real gamey stuff because it's purer. It hasn't been over.
Right.
Chicken is kind of a known allergen now for a lot of
Yes.
animals because it's just so overproduced.
Exactly. And so many GMO grains, and they're just so toxic the way most chickens are raised. Yeah, so I
Exactly.
do the grass-fed, grass-finished beef or the grass-fed venison.
Yep.
I haven't tried duck. Is that oiliness is not too much?
I'm seeing it as like a teaspoon in with the other meat.
Oh, I see.
because you want to play around with the proteins. It's really good for them to have
Okay.
different proteins,
Yep.
because they're getting different nutrients from different
Right.
proteins. And also then the stomach doesn't just get used to
Right.
everything.
Okay.
They are scavengers. They're going to get out there and get into stuff. So as
Sure.
long as their stomachs are well set,
Yes.
they're being the wild dogs that they are
Yeah.
ultimately.
Yeah.
That really, I don't think it's changed a whole lot from that perspective.
Right.
What I do personally, I add olive oil
Oh,
to the food.
okay.
And pumpkin. Pumpkin is really good for
Yes.
digestion, for
Yes.
fiber, for anal gland health.
Yes.
So I always add the organic pumpkin that comes in
Yep.
in a can.
Yep.
And then I've been playing around with different supplements because I have a very large dog. He's young,
Yeah.
he's very
Yeah.
lean, and he's very active. So I
Yep.
want to support the joints and the muscles and the tendons and all
Sure.
of that. So there's different supplements that you can do that either will target one specific thing, but
Hmm.
I've chosen with him because he's so young still to go with an all-encompassing supplement that
Okay.
covers all of your bases.
Oh, okay. Which
Um,
one is that?
and it's a powder and it kind of works in as a gravy that
Oh,
you add to the food. So
okay.
everything I do, you just throw it all into one thing. That's how I eat.
Nice.
Throw it all into one pot and then you eat it.
Yeah.
So I have been using products from a company called Dynamite Specialty for a
Okay.
really long time. It's I'm a distributor for them. I'm not like a seller, but if I
Okay.
feel one of their products would work for somebody, muscle test it and then I make sure it's good.
Okay.
But they've been around for a really long time and I love their products.
Oh, nice. And they have a what sort of a multivitamin?
It's called TNT.
TNT.
Yeah, it's like a top dressing
Oh, okay.
and it's a gravy, so you can add it to kibble or you can add
Awesome.
it to real food.
Yep.
And I just have to say one thing. People
Sure.
talk to me about their dogs not having people food. Like I don't feed my dog people food.
As though that's a good thing.
And I've started saying to people, it's not people food, it's real food.
Exactly. Oh, that's such a good way of putting it. Yes. Well, I mean, haven't we been told by old school veterinarians that you're not supposed to give table scraps?
Way back in the day, that's how they lived,
Yes, that's all they got. They got
right?
whatever was left over from humans.
They were
And I mean,
farm
to me,
dogs.
it's such a if I see somebody that's feeding one of the mainstream brands or any kibble really, but especially the mainstream brands, I just cringe and I want to
Yeah,
say something, but I'm like, I don't want to offend them, but I might, if they know them well enough, I might say,
yeah.
you might consider changing up what you're feeding because here's the deal with what that is.
So
Yeah.
here's how I approach that.
Yeah.
If someone is talking to me, because I'm never not working, right?
Yeah,
You're
right.
always asking questions, and that's fine.
That's how I am
But
too.
if someone says, oh, my dog's got digestive issues, or they've got diarrhea, or they're hobbling, or
Yes.
I work from the symptom
Mm.
to get them to change the nutrition.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. So you got to find out what those symptoms are.
Yeah, so once
Yeah.
I know that there's digestive issues, then I'm like, oh, so what are you feeding? What
Yes.
medication are they on? What supplements are
Yes.
they on? And then I start to say, well, what about this or what about
Yeah.
that? Would you be open to?
That's a great way of putting it.
Right. So I'm never coming in like I know it all because I don't.
Right. Right. That's a
And
great
this is what you
attitude.
should do because
Yeah.
it might not be,
Yeah.
and there's vegetarians out there that don't want to feed meat,
Yeah.
right? I don't
Tricky.
eat meat, but my dog does. He's a carnivore. I'm not going to
Right.
take that away from him.
Yes.
But some people don't want meat in the house, and I get that.
Yep.
So there are many, many options now out there. There's freeze
Yeah.
dried out there. There's,
Yeah.
dried stuff out there. There's some great companies out there that
Yeah.
do really good food. They've been around for a really long time.
Yep.
So there's options for people,
That's
which I
awesome.
which
Yeah.
I really love. But that's how I come in. I want to come in a way. So here's what I'm hearing. I always want to speak in a language that somebody will hear what I have to say.
Ah,
So when I'm doing communication work, especially around all of this stuff that we're talking about, I
yes.
don't want to offend anybody. I
Right.
don't want to tell them that what they're doing is wrong, even though
Right.
everything in me is going, oh my God,
Yes.
right? They don't know, or they don't
Right.
want to know, or that's just not where they're at. So I always want to come in where they're at. So
Yes.
anytime information is coming to me that I need to share, I always ask my guides to give me the language that they will hear.
Mm. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I like that.
And that way, people will very often say to me, I never would have thought of it from that perspective.
Ah,
So now they opened.
That's
And
beautiful.
now we can talk and compromise.
Right.
They'll do this, but they might not do that.
Yes.
They want to vaccinate because they feel better, but here's a detox,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I have to weave. I
Yeah, no,
have
that
to,
makes total sense. And I love the way that you put that because you want the person to be able to hear you
yes,
and then make the choice that's best for them and their animals, even, even if it's something that is a work in progress,
yes.
right?
And then they start to see a difference in their animals,
Yes. And then they're sold.
and then they ask questions, and then
Yes.
there's more answers, or this
Correct.
didn't work, let's try this. So there's always that piece that comes in,
Yes.
that I want to meet people where they are.
Yes. I think
I
that's
know where I
perfect.
am and I know what I'm going to do. I know where you are,
Sure.
probably what you're going to
Yes.
do, but
Right.
not everyone is in that space. And
Okay.
when I go into a horse barn and it's a boarding facility,
Right.
they're all on protocols, like vaccine protocols, dewormer protocols. Sometimes the grain's really not that great. So how do I then help to improve that? I show them where there are acupressure points on the body that will tell me if there's a digestion problem, that will
Wow.
tell me if they're wormy, that will tell me if they've got other issues going on, that I
Yeah.
learned over 20 years ago from Dr. Regan Golob, who's just a gift on this planet.
Wow.
And then I can say, look, here's this point. And then I can take a product or take something, even if it's through the mind,
Yep.
and bring that into the energy field of the horse and press that point again. And if it doesn't react, then that's the right answer for that point.
Wow.
So I
And so
use
is
a
that
lot.
the equivalent of muscle testing for that
Yes,
horse? Yeah.
it's a form of muscle testing where I can use the body because that's a better visual for somebody.
Yes. Yes.
Here's your front rib out, and this is what it looks like, and then
Oh,
correct it
interesting.
and press the point again, and now the horse isn't flinching and moving.
Yeah.
So it becomes very visual. I'm a very visual, prove it to me kind of person, so I
Yep.
get that.
Yep.
So everything I do is here, look at this. And
Yeah.
then when you're working with the animals, as you go through the session, they start to relax. They start pacing around the room. They start to interact with their person, like, yes, I want this and I want that. And what's really fascinating is the animals will walk away and come in and out of the session.
Oh, interesting.
They'll come in when the topic of conversation is very important to them. And I've
Oh,
just tracked it over the years. It's not
that's
like I can't
cool.
prove it, but they'll come in and out. So then I say to somebody, okay, this is a really important topic for your animal or whatever
Yeah.
their name is. So
Yeah.
let's focus on this and talk about it. And the
That's
animal
so
will come and
cool.
lay down. They'll come and lay down with us. Yeah. So
Huh.
what's coming to me with from a horse community perspective and the footprint
Yes.
is if you're filling your horses full of preservatives, chemicals, toxins, the vaccines, the
Yeah,
topical treatments, the
they're
dewormers
pooping it all over the place.
into the ground.
Yeah.
And then
And
they're
actually,
eating it.
it's interesting too. My holistic veterinarian friend, Dr. Christina, talked about how when you shift your dog and cat to a real food diet, the volume of poop goes down.
So,
And I've
yeah.
totally noticed that since I've been giving them fresh food, lightly cooked or, maybe fully cooked sometimes,
Yeah.
the volume of poop is definitely reduced.
Yeah, because there's not as much waste and then the organs aren't working as hard,
Yes,
right? And then they have more
exactly.
vitality because they're not digesting all day.
That's right. That's right.
So
Wow.
it's
Well, I
huge.
am so excited to get the enzymes and the supplement and add some organ meat and yeah, all the suggestions that you had are just beautiful. I know you had a freebie that you wanted to offer to any listeners. Would you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I do a lot of meditations. I have a YouTube channel called Guided by Animals,
Oh, cool.
and there's tons and tons of videos on there. Some are
Okay.
drumming with horses because I do
Ooh.
that too.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and then I recently put out a meditation. It's got my miniature horse actually on the
Oh,
front, and it's about grounding and transforming.
nice.
And it's appeared to be really, really popular, and it's right there. So it's a meditation, being out in nature, reminding yourself of who you are as your unique self.
Ooh, I'm going to link that in the show notes so that people can find it really
Yeah,
easy.
that's kind of the freebie. There's a ton of other meditations on there that you can just scroll through, pick a meditation and listen to it.
Wow.
Everything's nature animal based in everything I do because I want to expand people
Yeah.
into that world of everything.
That's beautiful. And so for people to contact you directly, what's the best way?
Probably by email.
Okay.
So nicotherapies at proton.me.
I'll put that in the show notes. That
Is the best way
I
to
think
go
you spell
on
Nico
the
Niko.
Nikoe.
Nikoe. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll
So
put that in the show notes.
that's the three animals that got me into my work. So that's Naira,
Oh,
Kobo, and Echo.
oh, cool.
So
Oh, what
that's
a
how
neat
that
way of
name came
doing
about.
that. Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, Michelle, this has been fantastic. Is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked?
No, I've really enjoyed this whole conversation. I feel that for people listening, that maybe this is new,
Yeah.
or people listening that this isn't new, but this has just opened up a whole other area of a footprint.
Yes.
Just be mindful of what's going into and on your animals, and to
Yes.
know that there are some really good options out there that are much more natural and much healthier.
Yep.
Um, and that
Absolutely.
you can alleviate any toxins from the body just like you can with people, and let our animals be vibrant, healthy, and clean, just like we're wanting to be. And then the
Yes.
harmony and vibration of the earth is going to change.
Totally. And I think that's the big picture. It sounds like you're working towards that in the work that you do, as well as me. For me, it was always this vision of I knew what we could be doing and I knew sort of how to get us there, but it's a matter of sharing that message far and wide. So thank you so much for all that you do and for this conversation. This has been beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Ah, wonderful. I know we covered a lot today. And if you're feeling inspired to start making these changes, but you don't know where to begin, I've got you covered. I've created a free 5-day cleaner eating and non toxic living challenge to help you swap out hidden toxins in your food and your home and your everyday life without the overwhelm. So you can join me anytime at greenlivingnow.com. And if you're ready to go deeper and you want a clear step by step plan to detox your food and your home, check out my courses. Whether you're looking to clean up your diet or create a truly non toxic home, I've put together everything that you need to make it simple and doable. You'll find the details at greenlivingnow.com. And I'd love to support you on your journey. Until next time, be green.